All right, guys, it's Paul Singh, Market Speculator, with a blog post here on 7 actionable setups, setups showing relative strength to the market ever since we bottomed out here and made this epic run in SPY. So let's take a look at SPY before we get to those 7 stocks and see actually what's going on in the market. You can see there was a high made here, a big meltdown. We bottomed here and have been going through this pretty much epic run here through 2019. Now, if we look at SPY, SPY is looking really good here, has crossed all of the major moving averages and has broke this range that was really tough to cross around 281 and now looks to be headed to new highs about 3% away. Now, when we have a period like this, I always like to focus on relative strength stocks. Most stocks have basically done what the market has done here. Now, we don't want to focus on relative weakness stocks that would be down here. What we want to do is focus on stocks that are at least keeping pace with what the market has done, but ideally stocks showing relative strength, so stocks that would be up here. And these 7 stocks all share this feature. So let's get to them now. The 7 stocks I'm watching. Number 1, team. Another thing I like to do is pay attention to sectors. Look at what sectors are hot. Software is really strong right now. I could list probably 20 stocks from software right now, but we're not going to do that. We're only going to take 1 or 2 from software. One of my favorites right now is Team. You can see here, Team made that all-time high here in October, just like the market did. But unlike the market, which is way down here compared to its high, Team broke its high back in February here and has been on a run ever since. So it is showing extreme relative strength, has made about a 100% move from the bottom to now. So extreme relative strength, extreme volatility, the exact type of stock we want to see, the exact type of stock we want to trade. Now, what is the actionable setup? So if we dig in closer, we already know what stock we want to pay attention to. Basically here, we want to do 1 of 2 things. If it does pull back, we want to see how it reacts to the 9. If it pulls back to the 9 and holds, that would give us an entry. But the easiest trade would be if it breaks the high here. You know, we've already had this nice consolidation, so it's not too extended going into the high. So I would say a break of 115 would give us a nice setup with Team. ISRG is the next stock. You can see the line here. This is the all-time high. Big consolidation since the October meltdown. Very strong here. Already at highs. Again, SPY is down here. This one's already touching its highs. Pretty easy to see the setup here. The setup is a break of this line. So essentially the break of the high, the intraday high here back in October would set up the next big run. And I wouldn't be surprised if we measure the top to bottom here from 430 to about 580. That's 150 points. I wouldn't be surprised to see a 100 to 150 point move over the coming months heading into summer or maybe late summer. So keep an eye out on ISRG. The next one here, VIV, another health information stock. ISRG was medical instruments, but kind of related to the same area here. If we look at VIV, again, blasting through the highs back in February, and now we're at more all-time highs. We've got a high here at 130. Maybe it's a little extended now. I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of a pullback. So here, instead of playing a high break, we're going to look for a pullback, maybe a hold of the 9, maybe a deeper pullback. But wherever it pulls back to, we're going to look for a show of strength, much like we saw here when we had this deeper pullback here. So let's watch this one consolidate and potentially give us a pullback play. Now we're going to go to OLED. Semiconductors had really been beaten down, but now have showed quite a bit of strength and are leading the market more recently. Here's the semiconductor ETF. And one of my favorites here is OLED. You can see here, since the bottom in January, OLED has made a move from about 78 all the way to 160. So getting pretty close to a 100-point move. We had this big breakout here in February. Heavy volume. I'm betting this was an earnings breakout here. Now this one's interesting. While it is extended, it has consolidated here. So we could do this 1 of 2 ways. If you're more aggressive, maybe take a break of the high, and you can see there is a lot of room to the upside. We have an early 2018 high of 208. So a lot of room to go. We could play a high break and play for a big run, or we could wait for another pullback here. But it already has recently pulled back, so I think we're safe here with a high break. LULU, another post breakout play. And again, you can see the high in October. We've already hit the high on the big breakout. Now we're going to watch this consolidation range. If we see a show of strength here that indicates this is the extent of the pullback, we can enter here. Basically, what I'd want to see is maybe a break of this range here around 167. Then we could enter here and play for a break of the high, potentially a move to 175, 180, 185. If this level doesn't hold and we start to pull back further, which would be fine, we would watch for a hold of the 9 EMA and this old high here around, or this old range here around 157, 158. I'd actually like this play better, but we'll see if it holds here. So that's LULU, another post-breakout play. ULTA has already shown support at the 9 and has been running a little bit extended here. We're getting potentially a pullback candle here. So I want to see a pullback here. I want to see how this thing holds a 9. If it's truly in trend phase, it'll ride the 9 much like it did up in here. So if we get a hold of the 9, we can enter here and potentially see a move up to 370 or 380. When this thing runs, it makes really fast moves. So we'll watch for that pullback in ULTA. And finally, a very different setup here. When this is a bottoming formation, you can see it bottomed out here right around the holidays at about 90, has hit 129.84, and has broke out over the 200-day moving average. So it looks like a strong bottoming formation, a lot of room to the upside here. Not that we expect it to go to 200, but even if it captured, up to 150, 160, that would be a huge run for us. I think this one's at an entry right now, so we really don't have to wait for a trigger. I would usually use maybe a little bit of smaller position sizing, allow for some volatility, maybe get to stop in around 121 or 122. So that's when another relative strength stock, maybe not quite the move that some of the other ones have made, especially considering those are at highs, but a different setup, a really nice bottoming formation here. So those are 7 stocks I'm watching very closely. I expect to take some trades in these stocks in the coming days and weeks. So keep these on your radar. We've got potential entries right now. As long as the market continues to run towards the highs, these stocks should fly.